Happy New Year! I hope your Christmas and or holiday period has been good. To kick off my 2026, I think it's time to go back to my roots. Let's talk about BL, baby! Did you like Heated Rivalry? Are you feeling empty now knowing we won't get the second season for a while and you won't have anything else to fill that Holanov-shaped hole? Are you looking for more queer content just like it? Then you've come to the right place. As previously documented in my 2023 video, I watched over 200 BLs, here's what I learned. I'm something of a BL expert at this point.
Queer men were starved for content that wasn't desexualized to the point of parody. Gay men on TV, even as little as 2 decades ago, were neutered, rendered sexless, in order to offend the least amount of people possible. While for women, the pendulum swung in the opposite direction. Our sexualities were overexploited to the point where you'd see 2 women kiss before you saw them pass the Bechdel test. I'm exaggerating, but only slightly. And there are lots of arguments to be made about the costs of lesbianism being more normalized, but only under the scope of what heterosexual men find hot, versus the queer content being made by actual queer people and showing them as whole people rather than sexy caricatures. I would love to be a sexy caricature. Someone come over here and sexualize.
Oh, there was somehow still some life in her eyes. I'm kidding. Mostly. Anyway, considering it's been 3 years since that video, I've actually seen 524. This isn't even including all the Western shows that I've watched. Don't look at me. Which means that not only can I give you recs, but I can categorize those recs. Do you want sports gays? I got you. Do you want high heat, steamy romance? I got you. Are you looking for the rivalry specifically? I absolutely fucking got you. Are you looking for GLs or other kinds of QLs that might hit the same? I've got you too. I've got pretty much every base covered depending on what you liked about Heated Rivalry. And if you didn't like Heated Rivalry but you still somehow clicked on this video for some reason, hell, I'm sure some of these recs would work for you too. Also, I'm thinking of doing an updated version of that original video at some point with all the new shows and how they've influenced the genre. So if you're interested in all my opinions on the development of QL since the beginning of 2023, definitely let me know in the comments. Also like and subscribe to my Patreon for early videos and bonus nonsense. Without further ado, let's get into it.
I gotta get my head in the game.
Are you looking for sports-based romance? I have many options for you, but I've narrowed it down to the ones I think fit the brief the most. I've kept it to shows where both of them are athletes and the sport is a major part of the story, otherwise I probably could have put another 10 shows in here. Before I get to the main list, I have some honourable mentions, which don't fully fit the brief, but feel thematically consistent on some level with Heated Rivalry. FC Sold Out is a Korean BL about an actor who gets put on a failing football team to give them more commercial appeal, which pisses off the rest of the team who actually want to play football. He's got a kind of a rivalry with his love interest because of that, although they do both secretly already like each other because they know each other, the celebrity, they're fans of each other. Anyway, and most of the plot hinges on the sport itself. Wanti Gure is a Thai drama about a boxer and his fake romance with a doctor, and the story is pretty evenly split between the boxing and the doctor side of things. The main couple have great chemistry, and the show is weirdly educational about safe gay sex, so big thumbs up from me. Pit Babe, I am counting as a sport, even though half the show is mafia-based because they're racing cars, and literally the entire show, or at least the first season, is predicated on Babe being just the best driver out there and how that causes conflict. Also, it's technically the first ever live-action Omegaverse BL, so even though it mostly chickens out in the second season, it's still a piece of history and one that Hudson would probably appreciate. And finally, Let Free the Curse of Taekwondo. This is a Korean show which is only really tangentially about Taekwondo in the sense that the main character's father runs a Taekwondo dojang and the two main characters both do it. It's kind of what brings them together, but it's also similar to Heated Rivalry in how much said father absolutely sucks shit and almost ruins their chance to be together by being abusive and terrible. Let's pour one out for Ilya and Do. Okay, onto the official gay sports romance recs. Mr. Heart is a Korean miniseries about running. Jimwon is an extremely serious runner who has little time for anything else, and Sanga is assigned to be his pacemaker. Sanga is terminally bubbly and wants nothing more than to be his friend, while Jimwon resists him at every turn.
그렇게 2년 동안 선배님께 우유를 가져다 드렸습니다.
Very grumpy one meets the sunshine one dynamic. And of course, he slowly breaks down Jimwon's walls. Very sweet, very wholesome, 10 out of 10.
가요. 뭐야? 나도?
지금 내 손 꼭 잡아줄래?
It did end up in my top 5 BLK dramas of my 2023 video because it's very sweet. The Rebound is a Thai show about Zen who's trying to stop his basketball team from being disbanded in order to get a scholarship, who has to find new teammates and a coach in order to qualify for the new season, who is forced back into proximity with his former best friend Ryu, who plays street basketball. Yep, and doesn't like following the rules. It's Step Up meets High School Musical sans music. It's very cheesy, but super endearing.
เชี่ยจังหวะอย่างเป๊ะ
ความสุขที่ได้เล่นบาสมันไม่ใช่เล่นเพื่อการแข่งขัน
แต่เล่นเพราะเรารักบาส
มึงไม่ต้องพยายามทำอะไรทั้งนั้นนะ แค่เป็นมึงที่อยู่กับกูก็พอแล้ว
And these two are, like, very cute as appearing, these actors. Like, they're not often in good projects, but, like, they're fun to watch. Knockout is about Keen, who inherits his father's debts when he dies and starts being harassed by loan sharks, who hides out at a Muay Thai gym and ends up meeting Than, a superstar boxer who has quit boxing.
ให้ทันไปตามเนี่ยเจอกันหรือยัง
ผมว่าผมเจอแล้วครับ
Than is cold and uninterested, or at least he appears to be, but he ends up jumping in to help Keen more than once, and the two of them slowly get closer until they're making out in the boxing ring.
ดูเป็นคนไร้หัวใจแบบเจ้าของฉายาหมัดทรายไร้หัวใจไง
อยากรู้ไหมว่าไร้หัวใจจริงหรือเปล่า
Much like Pit Babe and The Rebound, a good portion of the show is based around not just competing in sport, but also fighting evil, and those two things being intrinsically intertwined. It's actually a very common motif in Thai BLs in general, so if you like that kind of thing, you'll probably like these. History 2, Crossing the Line, is a Taiwanese drama, and don't worry, the history series are anthologies, so you don't need to watch any of the other history shows in order to understand this one. I do recommend them all though, they're fun. Crossing the Line follows Yuha, who is roped into joining the school volleyball team, where he immediately clashes with Ji Xuan, a fellow player and trainer. Playing volleyball slowly brings them together, but their budding feelings are tempered by the fact that they're on a team, and the internalized homophobia and player politics begins to affect them.
我知道我越界了，但这不是比赛。
Sound familiar? Ten Dance is a Japanese movie based on a manga about two competitive male dancers who end up training together to learn more about each other's styles. Suzuki is a Latin dancer and Sugiki is a standard dancer, and despite their styles being completely different, because they are both champions, they are constantly compared to one another. Sugiki suggests they work together to compete in the Ten Dance competition, where exceptionally talented dancers perform 10 dances in different styles. Suzuki's emotional, fiery dancing and personality contrasts wildly with Sugiki's uptight, rigid, domineering style and facade. But they decide to teach each other their styles anyway, and they begin to train together every day. And as they do, something in their relationship shifts.
1位じゃないと嫌なんじゃなかったの?
This movie is gorgeous. The dancing is phenomenal, the rivalry/sexual tension is captivating, and the cinematography is a delight. I actually, and hold my hand on my heart here, I think I preferred it to the manga. Also, they're in Blackpool for part of the movie, which is wild to me personally. Weird to see them on a street that I've been on. Anyway, give them an Oscar. I'm not joking. Give them an Oscar. Ten Dance is probably the closest plot-wise to Heated Rivalry in terms of the rivalry and their tension, and the final show in this category is probably the closest to the long game plot-wise, so if you're looking for something to watch while you wait for season 2 to come out, Ball Boy Tactics is probably a safe bet. Yes, that is what it's called. Ball Boy Tactics is a Korean show about Han Ji-won, a painfully shy, almost definitely autistic, retired Olympic gymnast who never wanted fame and struggles with the attention he receives, who meets Kwon Jong-woo, an extroverted basketball star who seems to adore being the center of attention, who is also kind of a bisexual slut.
들로 꽉 찼다던데 이런 인기와 관심이 불편하진 않으신가요?
제가 그만큼 잘하나 보죠.
He also gets on with Jong-woo's other athlete friends who fold him into their friend group, not without a little friction. Ji-won and Jong-woo don't just have to worry about figuring out their own feelings, they also have to worry about how the world will perceive them if they ever give in to those feelings.
좋아해. 정우야. 나한테 조금만 시간을 주면 안 될까? 우리 둘 다 남자잖아. 난 이제 체조를 안 하지만 넌 현역이잖아. 너나 나나 인지도가 있어서 들키면 타격이 클 거야.
How would the world react to two famous athletes dating each other? And how would they keep it hidden if they let themselves give in to their feelings?
나 정우랑 사겨.
야, 그럼 내 남친 양호는
진짜요?
아니 어떻게 우리 감쪽같이 속일 수가 있어?
난 알고 있었어.
응? 너 알고 있었다?
Narratively, it's kind of like The Long Game, but like emotionally and character-wise, they're a lot more like Kip and Scott. Like they're very sweet and kind and earnest. Next up, let's turn up the heat.
God, what can we do for 4 minutes, Kiss? We could do anything.
The possibilities are endless.
I'm not the biggest fan of sports romances, but I do love my steamy gays. YouTube, I'm going to do my best to talk around the spice and cut around the horned up parts of these shows, so I need you to chill out, okay? Okay. Was your main draw for Heated Rivalry the realistic steamy scenes and excessive amounts of chemistry and spice? Then these shows might be for you. Love in the Big City is the only Korean show in this section because Korean shows aren't always big on spice. That's not to say there isn't any. There definitely is. You're just more likely to find it in movies and web series than on television. And actually, Ball Boy Tactics has like a decently long sex scene in it. Love in the City follows Ko-young through all the phases of his life, a gay man with a queer friend group and a straight female best friend who navigates messy relationships and self-discovery, as well as Korea's infamous homophobia and societal pressure to conform.
진짜 잘하는데 사기나.
강의실에 있는데 애들이 뭐라는 줄 아냐? 너랑 나랑 동거하고 있고 임신해서 낙태까지 했다고 하더라.
어머나, 틀린 말이 하나도 없네.
진짜 따지고 보니 그렇네. 아, 그리고 나보고는 게이라는 소문이 있던데 아닌가 봐? 막 이 지랄?
준마 같아. 좀 일틱하게 좀 서 있어 봐봐.
은수야, 나는 어때? 잘 나와?
This show is somewhat steamy, but it's on the lower end of this list heat-wise. It's also very sad in places, so bring your tissues. For crying and nothing else. Obviously. Also, the book's really good. You should go read it. It's on my shelf over there. Kiseki Dedemi is a Taiwanese show about Bai Zhongyi, a student who stumbles onto Fan Jiru, an injured gangster. Not knowing he's a criminal and wanting to be a doctor in the future, he does the honourable thing and takes him home to treat his wounds, inadvertently changing the entire course of his life. The frankly fantastic side couple are two members of the gang who have known each other their whole lives, one of whom is secretly desperately in love with the other. Both couples have fantastic chemistry, there are some wonderful spicy scenes, and some really interesting side characters. I will say, if you're a bit iffy about age gaps and questionable dynamics, maybe give this one a miss, but I will leave that up to your discretion. My stand-in is... oh boy. It sure is a show! My favourite thing about BLs is how often they take huge swings for the fences and actually succeed. If you're bored of Western shows and feel like everything is getting bland nowadays, I'm literally begging you to get into Thai or Taiwanese or Japanese or Chinese or Korean shows. My stand-in follows Joe, a stuntman, who falls in love with Ming, a man who's only sleeping with him because he's interested in the actor Joe is standing in for. Oof. Once Joe finds out about this betrayal, he ends up dying in a stunt accident overseas. 2 years later, he wakes up in the body of another man, also named Joe, who had died the same day and ended up in a coma. Despite being given a fresh shot at life, Joe ends up right back in the same environment, and even meets Ming again, who at least still feels guilty for what happened to Joe, but who Joe now, understandably, resents.
แต่ผมจะใช้เวลาที่เหลือทำให้พี่กลับมารักผมมาอีกครั้ง
Not only does the show have great spicy scenes, but they're literally integral to the plot. And also, these two are so messy and fucked up, and I adore them.
หมิง เดี๋ยวพี่ต้องไปสอนต่อ พี่ต้องห้ามผมสิ ไม่ว่าจะเกิดอะไรขึ้น ต้องรับความกดดันให้ได้
I cannot stress enough how specifically the climax of the sex scenes is integral to the plot. I can't stress enough. People who've seen it know what I'm talking about. Get in the comments. Don't spoil it, but get in the comments. If you thought the previous two shows had tenuous dynamics, you should probably avoid To My Shore, a Chinese BL about just the worst man in the world, manipulating an innocent, kind doctor to his side in the most underhanded ways possible. In real life, everything about this man is disgusting and horrible. In this show, he fascinates me. I am turning him in my mind like a microwave. I want him to get worse. Fan Xiao only sets his sights on Yu Shulong because he doesn't believe anybody is intrinsically good and he wants to force him into turning to the dark side like himself. He does this because he's lived a life of trauma and betrayal and doesn't believe in goodness or empathy. I'm not excusing his actions, I'm just telling you, he's super fucked up. Shulong suffers more than Jesus in this show, and yet I still somehow want them to get together, which is a testament to the writing and to their chemistry.
尤主任，检验过关了。范总，这么好的身材，早点脱呀！是直男，我也上了。
If you want more information on why a Chinese show having explicit gay sex in it is both amazing and unusual, you should watch my Chinese bromance video. It's really good. I spent 2 years on it. It has a bunch of good show recs in it too. They don't have spice though. I'll be very clear about it now. None of those shows have spice. Why Are You is a Thai drama about Tutor, a sensible, scholarly guy, and Fighter, a hot-headed rich kid, and their clashes and eventual love story. I say that as if Tutor isn't also a massive bitch.
我不能ชอบผู้ชายชอบผู้ชายไอ้เตอร์ชอบผู้ชายอ่ะชอบผู้ชายทำแบบนี้ป่ะ
The side characters are musicians who also have a strained relationship due to one of their sisters essentially shipping them together, which gets in the way of them realizing their actual feelings.
อย่างนี้นะแบบนี้แบบนี้แบบนี้2 3 4
Fighter and Tutor are separated by class, temperament, and circumstances, but boy, do they have chemistry. There's a whole episode of the show that is basically a sex retreat.
หรือถ้าพี่ไม่ทำอะเตอร์เป็นคนทำเอง
Glorious. Top Form follows an established actor, Akin, who is famous for his looks as well as his acting, and a rookie actor, Jin, who is almost immediately put into contention against him as a potential rival in both categories. As the two men work together and are also being pitted against each other by the general public, the two of them realize they're also drawn to each other. And negotiating their public image with their private lives becomes increasingly difficult.
Wasted and lonely's a bad combination.
Not only that, but the constant outside pressure starts to erode their relationship from the inside due to jealousy and insecurity. This show has a scene where they use copious amounts of honey in a way that made me both horny and concerned about the carpet. Genuinely impressive to make two people who are just getting so unbearably sticky in a way that is abhorrent to me personally because of sensory issues into one of the hottest scenes that aired last year. They also released like a black and white version of it where you can only the honey is in colour. It's good. It's good shit. Kin Porsche! If you haven't heard of Kin Porsche, you've either been living under a rock or this is your first foray into BL, in which case, hi! Welcome, pull up a chair. Kin, a mafia boss, hires Porsche to be his bodyguard and things escalate from there. Kin's older brother, Tankun, is incredibly fabulous and queer. His younger brother is played by Jeff Satur, doing his best classic Sherlock impression and unintentionally seducing Porsche's younger brother. And the main side couple is a weird dom-sub torturer and torturee dynamic that I thought I would hate but ended up really and thoroughly enjoying. But oh my god, definitely check the trigger warnings before you watch this one. It is a mafia show, after all.
ไม่ฆ่ามึงหรอกเพราะอยู่กับมึงอะแม่งโคตรสนุกเลยว่ะมึงสักด้วยอ่ะ No legacy is so rich as honesty. What a load of bullshit.
Kin and Porsche don't just fall in love, they hook up, they fight, they flirt, they even flirt during fights. This is a high-heat show, but like Heated Rivalry, it's also just really well made. The artistic direction is stunning, the acting is phenomenal, and the plot keeps you coming back for more episode after episode. Also, the soundtrack slaps. Slaps. Absolutely rips. Love in the Air and Love Sea. I'm putting these together because not only do they star two of the same people, but they were also both remade by Japan, so there's actually 4 options here. Love in the Air follows two best friends and their respective run-ins with motorcycle racers who live very different lives to them. The first half follows Rain and Payu and their bimbo and morosexual who is unfortunately in love with him plot.
ผมโง่ก็ได้โง่ให้ทำอะไรไม่คิดผมก็ไม่มีสมองอย่างที่พี่พูดนั่นแหละ
And the second half is a harrowing look at the aftermath of Sky's previous abusive relationship and multiple sexual assaults, and learning to open up and find love again with Prapai.
ที่พี่ทำทั้งหมดเนี่ยไม่ใช่ว่าอยากนอนกับเราอย่างเดียวนะพี่ไม่ได้อยากนอนกับเราอย่างเดียวเข้าใจไหมพี่ไม่
Man, I love them so much. It manages to balance the light-hearted, bouncy elements with a serious emotional tone quite well, and if you're somehow looking for more spice once the series is over, they released a super sexy special episode, which honestly is one of my favourite episodes of the show. Like, the first half is alright, but like, the extended dynamics of seeing them in relationships is very entertaining to me. They don't get less weird.
มึงเคยเรียกพี่พายว่าพ่อไหม
อะไรนะ
ผมบอกว่าแป๊บนึงไง
เล่นไปดิพี่ก็จะเล่นของพี่
อาบน้ำกัน
นิ่งไว้
ดูพ่อนิ่งไว้
Love Sea stars the actors who portrayed Sky Prapai, but this time as a popular, successful romance novelist who doesn't believe in love, who goes on an island retreat to write his next novel, where he meets an uncouth yet charming island local whose dick game is absolutely fire and brings his creative spark back. I'm not kidding, that's the plot. Do you think maybe his constant insistence that love isn't real, while continuing to let his island boy toy get closer and closer emotionally, is going to cause problems? Place your bets now.
พี่วีทำไงดีพี่รักซื้อผู้ชายกลับมาสรุปพี่ชอบน่ารักปะ
พี่จะทำให้เขาต้องรักพี่ คุณจะกำหนดอะไรก็ได้ จะจ่ายผมเท่าไหร่ก็ได้ แต่สิ่งที่คุณกำหนดในกระดาษไม่ได้ คุณห้ามไม่ให้ผมรักคุณไม่ได้
The original Thai versions are my personal favourites because I have a soft spot for the cast, but the Japanese versions are also really good and extremely high heat, in some cases almost more so. So, go forth and... Jesus Christ, I almost said go forth and goon. Well... By the way, she says she's asexual, but goons to yowie. First of all, being asexual does not preclude me from gooning, but even if it did, so... And even if it was to yowie, again, so? You'll need to get out more, and maybe consider gooning to yowie. It's very freeing. Go forth and decide for yourself which you prefer, is what the script actually says. 4 Minutes is made by the same production company that made Kin Porsche and stars one half of the Dom sub torture couple as a rich kid who keeps having weird heart palpitations and seeing 4 minutes into the future. It is a weird, timey-wimey, funny, dark show that I don't want to tell you too much about because of all the twists and turns it has. Multiple spicy scenes across the whole show featuring multiple pairings, almost all of which are screwed up in some way for my personal entertainment. And speaking of couples who have a totally screwed up dynamic that is entirely for my personal entertainment, The Cornered Mouse Dreams of Cheese is a Japanese movie about a man who is cheating on his wife with multiple women. One day his wife hires a PI to follow him to get proof, and it turns out the PI knew him in college and had a bit of a gay crush on him, so he decides to extort him to keep the photos to himself. He asks for a kiss, and the other man obliges. But when, later, he steps out on his wife again, and she hires the same PI, the price of his silence goes up. I cannot stress enough how much I genuinely love this movie. I've watched it like 15 times. These two men both suck in different ways, but they're kind of perfect for each other despite that, or maybe because of that, and the way they spend most of the film circling each other, upsetting each other, but still coming back is absolutely enthralling.
俺はお前選ぶわけにいかないよ。普通の男には無理だって。わかるよな。はい。
嫌だって言えば済む話なのに。そんなだからつけ込まれるんですよ。
The sex scenes in the show are super realistic and fairly graphic and are essential to the plot. God bless Japan's obsession with creating fucked up horny media. But also just like the line deliveries, the way they are with each other, like I just like their dynamic just fascinates me. They're people who I would absolutely hate to know in real life, but through a screen, And on the topic, my stubborn is just, oh my god, so fucking horny. The primary emotion and thematic throughline in this show, horny. And unlike The Cornered Mouse Dreams of Cheese, this show is also not that good. Don't get me wrong, I thoroughly enjoyed it, but if you're looking for exceptional writing and cinematography, this is not the place for you. If you're looking for bonkers chemistry and a frankly ridiculous number of spicy scenes, you are in the right place. Jun and his older brother's friend Sorn have a contentious relationship, and Son constantly proclaims his dislike of the younger man, but when he finds out June is sexually inexperienced, he takes it upon himself to be the one to teach him everything he needs to know.
มันแย่มากเลยเหรอพี่ ไม่ต้องห่วงเลยเดี๋ยวกูสอนมึงเองรับรองมึงเก่งแน่
Just normal behavior. June's older brother Tai is in love with his business partner Champ, and they also have an inadvisable hookup and struggle to figure out what it means. Did I mention they're all working at the same company when this happens? They are a walking HR nightmare. The special episodes somehow managed to ratchet up the spice even further, but hey, at least they impress the importance of lube. The two main leads of the show are set to be in the third ever Omegaverse BL, which will hopefully be out this year, which will probably also be the most biblically accurate so far, at least in terms of sheer animalistic horny. So, look out for that too. Hudson Williams, I'm specifically talking to you, baby. We're getting into I truly cannot recommend this to people without coming across as weird territory now. Although maybe you crossed that line a few shows ago, to be fair. To each their own. Because now it's time for Playboy. This show is bad. I truly cannot recommend it in terms of writing quality. The characters are messy in a way that doesn't always feel intentional, the plot is convoluted, and the dialogue can be a little awkward, but oh my god, if this show isn't one of the most sex-positive things I have ever seen, whilst also portraying some of the most abominable relationship dynamics known to man. People get murdered in this show, people get assaulted in this show, people get discriminated against and abused, but it also sheds a positive light on sex work. It discusses consent and comfortability when it comes to kinks, and it has a very no-judgment approach to pretty much every kind of sex these characters have.
โดนขนาดนี้ยังบอกนายไม่ได้เลยแจ้งความไปนายก็ซวยคนผิดก็ลอยนวลตามกฎหมายอ่ะคนอย่างพวกเราแม่งไม่มีตัวตนเลยด้วยซ้ำแล้วใครจะมาดูแลพวกเราอ่ะพี่นี่ไงมีอยู่คนนึง
Including degenerate stuff, which is actually kind of fantastic.
เจ้าไหนไม่มีอะไรที่เป็นหัวหมาหรอมันเต้ไม่คิงขี้ขนาดนะครับ
And I said no, you know, like a liar.
It is such a weird show to recommend to people because, like, how do you tell your friends, hey, so there's this show with just so much sex in it, just all the time, just really kinky, weird sex, and it's all super vital to the plot, except when it isn't. And all of these people are kind of terrible, but I'm fascinated by them, and I cannot stress enough that this show is just unbelievably horny. Without your friends looking at you sideways, especially as an asexual person, it's always very funny to me when people are like, but it's full of sex. And I'm like, yes, that is the appeal. I love sex in fiction as a narrative device. It's one of my favorite things. Part of the reason why I hate badly written porn so much. Again, without sounding like a little freak to everyone who knows me personally. And hey, speaking of freaks, YouTube, do not demonetize me for this. Please. Let's talk about the last show in this section, Pornographer, also known as The Novelist, which is what I will call it for the rest of this section so I don't get put in horny jail by the algorithm gods. The Novelist is about a university student who accidentally hits an erotica novelist with his bike and injures his hand. Rio, the novelist, decides to waive any insurance claim if this man will transcribe his writing for him. Hilarity ensues.
質問です。はい。途中からすごい気になってたんですけど。疑問物だね。いや。そういうことじゃなくて。ああ、ここからここまで全部僕の本。え？あ、すげえタイトル。
Rio is super manipulative and cold, but clearly into Haruhiko, or at least into winding him up for his own gain. And Haruhiko starts to get more and more attracted to Rio the more spicy stories he transcribes. Shocker. The first season of this show that I watched was actually its prequel show, Mood Indigo. I didn't know that they were the same, which is about Rio before he became a novelist and his messed up relationship with his editor, a former college classmate, and how it evolves once Rio dips his toe into erotic fiction.
先生、やっぱりそれは悪趣味が過ぎますって。
That prequel season culminates in them having very graphic sex at a funeral. Both are good! There were also a few spin-off short films and a final spin-off film called Playback, which follows the events of the Novelist series and the short films and shows Rio and Haruhiko's relationship in the aftermath of that original season.
座ってて、女性が乗っかってきてですね。それから
I cannot stress enough how explicit these shows are. Japan is nothing if not committed when it comes to their steamy scenes, and this is kind of the example of that. They walk right up to the line, and that's only because Japan has laws around showing genitals. They're not allowed to. There are some actual Japanese films that do just have the actors sleep with each other on camera, but that's a whole different subgenre, and we don't have time for that right now, nor will YouTube let me get away with talking about it. If you want to find these films, a Gaga Ulala subscription is your friend. That's all I'll say. Gaga is a great streaming service for a huge portion of these queer shows, by the way, especially the Japanese ones, because it's quite difficult to find Japanese shows that'll be licensed outside of Japan, so I highly recommend it. Let's pivot to something safer for work before the algorithm gods smite me down.
If it's platonic, it's really intense.
Yes!
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, we're saying the same thing.
All right, now we're into my favorite category, rivalry romance. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a sucker for rivalry romance or enemies to friends to lovers. It is my bread and butter. I eat that shit up. So, if you're looking for more shows to whet your antagonism whistle, may I suggest Kiss Me Again and Dark Blue Kiss, some of the first BLs I ever watched. These follow Pete and Cal, two university students who hate each other but are both secretly a little bit too into it. There's an edit of Kiss Me Again on YouTube that is just this pairing scenes uploaded by the company who made it, because the actual main plot of this show is a het couple, but most of the audience were clearly tuning in for Pete Cal.
ยอมรับเถอะเรื่องนั้นน่ะมันทำให้มึงกับกูเป็นแบบนี้ไงมึงไม่ได้โกรธกูเรื่องที่กูต่อยมึงไม่เลนหรอกแต่มันเป็นเพราะจูบเหี้ยอะไรมึงจูบกูไงกูไม่ได้จูบมึงจูบกูไม่ได้จูบมึงปากชนกันไม่เรียกว่าจูบวะจูบพ่อมึงดิมึงก็ย้ายข้างสมการมาหาข้างล่าง
Blah, blah, blah. Proper name, place name, backstory stuff. Is the special. I'm so pretty. I like you.
เชี่ยอะไรเนี่ยมึงเข้าใจปะเนี่ย
Dark Blue Kiss is the sequel with Pete and Cal as main characters and in an established relationship, which is being eroded by their need to stay in the closet and the pressure they're both feeling to succeed at uni and in life.
หล่อเนี่ยมึงรู้ว่าแฟนมึงหรอทำไมต้องคิดว่ากูเป็นคนหื่นตลอดเวลาด้วยวะฮะมึงมีเวลาไหนบ้างมึงไม่หื่นฮะ
Dark Blue Kiss also features a side couple who are antagonistic with each other because if you find a winning formula, you stick to that shit.
บอกจะกลับเองไงยุ่งอะไรวะมึงอย่าดื้อดิวะไปเดี๋ยวกูไปส่งรู้แล้วรู้จับ
I love my boys so much. I should rewatch them.
กูรักพวกมึงนะเว้ยพีทก้าวธดาแสนดีจูนแก๊งเราโคตรเท่เฮีย
Jack and Joker is a gay heist show. Oh, you're not already clicking off the video to watch it? Okay, fine. Jack and Joker is about two men who meet and really hit it off until it turns out that one of them, Joke, was a thief, and his theft put Jack into a shitty situation, which causes him to seek out loan sharks. And then he becomes so indebted that he ends up working as an enforcer for said loan sharks to pay off those debts. While all of that was happening, Joke ends up serving a jail sentence for the numerous crimes he committed. But when he returns, he wants to atone for what he did to Jack. Unfortunately, Jack isn't having it.
ถ้ากูไม่ไปเชื่อไอ้ความหวังโง่ๆที่มีคนเคยให้กูไว้มึงอยากเป็นฮีโร่มึงช่วยหายไปจากชีวิตกูเถอะมึงอยากให้กูยกโทษหนักใช่ปะงั้นมึงก็ลองตายดูดิถ้ามันจะทำให้มึงหายโกรธมึงก็ฆ่ากูเลยดิ
In fact, the first half of this show is Joke doing his best to help Jack while Jack absolutely refuses to have anything to do with him, and I love it. I'm on record as hating forgiveness arcs. But when they're executed like this, where his seeking of forgiveness is more to do with fixing the problems he caused, I am much more inclined to praise it. The only problem I had is that the forgiveness does sometimes go a little bit too far, and Joke's shitty dad should have been left to rot, but I understand Asian parental deference, so I will let that slide. This isn't quite a rivalry or an enemies to friends to lovers. It's more of a flirtation to enemies to allies to enemies to allies to friends to lovers to enemies to lovers.
มึงอย่ามายุ่งกับกูอีกถ้ามึงไม่อยากตายไม่มึงเจ็บมากไหมไม่เจ็บเท่าที่มึงทำพวกกูหรอกมึงคิดว่ากูจะยอมมึงฝ่ายเดียว
and I ate that shit up. The Eclipse is about a strict, almost authoritarian all-boys school, and the way the iron fist of the school's authority comes up against righteous teenage rebellion. The head prefect is told to hunt down these rebels right as a new student arrives, who is not only instantly antagonistic to him, but is also strangely alluring, testing Ack's resolve as he tries to decide where his allegiances lie. The new kid, Ian, is there to find the reason for his uncle's suicide, and he decides that he's going to tear down the system from within, and bag himself a deeply anxious closeted boyfriend while he's at it.
มึงจะทำเชี่ยอะไรมึงนี่แม่งโคตรอ่อนเลยวะไอตัวเล็กเป็นไรตัวใหญ่ตัวเก่งเชี่ย
On top of that, there are rumours of a curse befalling the school that only get worse as an eclipse approaches, and strange things start happening at the school. First and Cow are some of my favourite actors, and this show was their first time being paired together despite being friends for a while before this, and the chemistry pays off. Ack and Ian are so compelling to watch.
กูขอจูบมึงได้ไหม
The show was directed by the incredible trans non-binary writer and director Golf Tamarin, who in 2019 became the first ever openly transgender MP to be elected to the Thailand House of Representatives. Unfortunately, they were then shadily ousted for unjust reasons, which only boosted their desire to use their platform to rally against queerphobia and corrupt politicians and the way that oppressive power structures affect the people living in them, which is very clearly reflected in The Eclipse. They also made The Rebound and Wandi Gooday because they have range. Golf, I am single and willing to move to Thailand whenever you want. Speaking of compelling, Mysterious Lotus Casebook is one of my favourite shows of all time, and I talked about it at length in my bromance video, but to briefly cover it...
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
Li Shangyi has spent the last 10 years in hiding as a wandering doctor named Li Danhua, ever since he lost a duel with his rival Di Feisheng, which rippled across the martial world so dramatically it is still affected to this day. He plans to remain in hiding until a young ingenue accidentally brings him out of retirement so he can help solve crimes. Not only that, but Di Feisheng also returns, and of course, recognizes Zhang Yi immediately.
狄盟主啊，这10年不见，你还是这么缠人啊！我没死，你那么高兴干嘛？不好意思啊，我先失陪一下，我还得回去做饭呢。啊。
Feisheng is also deeply offended to discover that Zhang Yi was poisoned at the time of their battle, which meant he'd been at an unfair advantage and his victory was hollow. And as an honourable warrior, decides to cure Zhang Yi's terminal illness so that they can have a rematch. Platonically.
都说了治不好了，看我拿这些宝贝，狄盟主，真是暴殄天物了。想想别的办法。
Li Shangyi and Di Feisheng for the first half of the show are kind of the definition of divorced but never married. Despite the fact that they almost murdered each other in a duel 10 years ago, the way they act upon discovering each other is alive is mostly in, witty altercations and semi-fond barbs that look a lot like flirting if you squint. And you don't really even have to squint that hard. I can probably see it with my glasses off. The flirting gets even more overt as the series goes on, but my god do I love their whole eternal martial arts rivals thing.
这些年武功不见长，柔术倒是练得不错。你别跟我说话，连个疯子都招架不住，四顾门的脸面还要不要了？哼，还讲什么面子啊？再说了，脖子后面的淤青自己擦。
那你们俩半夜鬼鬼祟祟的凑在一块，又是干什么呢？
哦，我们呀。
Right to the very end, they are still martial arts rivals. It's so good. Not Me is a Thai show about White, who is living a life of relative luxury abroad, whose estranged twin brother, Black, is beaten into a coma. And White feels that pain as it happens, so despite not having seen his brother for almost 15 years, he returns to Thailand to find out what happened. He finds out that Black was in an anti-fascist gang who have committed multiple disruptive acts across the city, and he suspects that one of the members of this gang caused his brother's attack, so he goes undercover as Black in order to find out the truth. As it turns out, Sean and Black had a quarrelsome relationship, which makes him suspicious, but despite this, Sean knows Black well enough to know that he's acting strange. It's not just that he's behaving weirdly, it's also that Sean is attracted to him in a way he never was before, and he doesn't know how to deal with that. Their enemies to friends to lovers arc is so good, and it's made all the more delicious because you spend the entire time waiting for the other shoe to drop about White's real identity. This show fucking rips, dude. Do you want shows made by trans women about queer revolution, fighting the power and dismantling violent and oppressive political and capitalistic structures using protest, arson, and graffiti? Then this is the show for you!
หยกยามาหยก
Queendom is a GL about two bitter enemies who have hated each other their entire lives and are now not only both celebrities but are both contracted to the same series.
ชิวก็ชิวไปแต่ขออย่างเดียวอย่าทำให้ฉันดูแย่ไปด้วยโหยใครกันแน่ที่ชิวเช้าก็ไปเล่นพิลาทิสส่วนตอนบ่ายนะก็กินรันช์
And then they end up swapping bodies and absolute chaos ensues. Not only do they have to pretend to be each other successfully, but they have to trust the other person is doing it well in order for both of them to maintain their careers. Not only that, but swapping bodies has some other effects, like the fact that they now have to confront their attraction to the other person whilst living in their body.
เห็นร่างตัวเองชัดๆสวยเหมือนกันนะเนี่ย
This show is so much fun. The side pairing in the show is also quite antagonistic with each other, which is always a delight to behold, and I would like this woman specifically to step on me.
ไม่ต้องมาก็ได้นะคะเพราะว่าฝนก็จัดการอย่างเรียบร้อยแล้วโหสมกับเป็นพี่ใหม่เลยนะคะจริงๆฝนไม่ต้องมาก็ได้นะเดี๋ยวพี่ก็จัดการเรียบร้อยแล้ว
She's so hot. She's so my gay ass. And we have my favorite installment in the History series. History 3, Trapped, follows a cop who is pursuing a member of the Taiwanese mafia who he thinks is the culprit of a murder from a few years ago. But little does he know, said mafia boss is also trying to find the culprit. Hijinks and sexual tension ensue. The cop's singular focus on this one guy starts looking a little fruity after a while. And similarly, the mafia guy is constantly being thwarted and bothered by the cop, and yet he seems to be, like, kind of just amused by him, despite them being on opposite sides.
翘完了，谁跟你翘班啊？我今天只外勤，说好拿这过来给你啊。2段，2段都行。
I love my chaotic queer cop mafia pairing and their deranged antics and the goofy side pairing and fun dramatic mystery plot. It is silly, it's serious, it's fluffy, it's dramatic, it's enemies to allies to lovers, which is an underrated dynamic. It's just great. It's good shit. We Best Love is a Taiwanese rivals to lovers series about two rivals for the #1 spot academically, and how one of them is always coming second to the other, and it drives him nuts until they go their separate ways after high school and he's finally #1. Right up until his rival suddenly turns up at university and starts showing him up again. These men are competitive, snarky, and they have chemistry immediately, and I'm sure you can draw the parallels to Heated Rivalry already.
我以为你找我来约会。约个鬼！谁要跟你约会？一句话，比不比？
The second season follows them a few years after the events of the first season, post-breakup, where they are now forced into proximity due to their jobs, and all those lingering feelings and resentments come to the surface, sparking a new rivalry. And while it's not as good, I've still watched it through more than once just to see them more because their chemistry is so fire and it's so easy to get sucked in.
被我帅傻了。对，我开玩笑的，我认真的。
Like, season 1 is fantastic. Season 2 is pretty good. You know, it's decent. The Journey to Killing You is a weird, dark show, thank you Japan, about a high-ranking member of the Yakuza, Kataoka, who is almost too kind and carefree, and beloved by many of his subordinates, who becomes the target of an attack and who has to go into hiding. He's sent with one member as protection, Orajima, who he doesn't know very well, who, unbeknownst to him, has been given orders to kill Kataoka himself. Orajima has had a rough time coming up in the mafia, essentially doing anything he's ordered to do, including sexual favors, and he's happy to kill Kataoka because he blames him for the death of the person he loved most. This plan is complicated when he actually gets to know Kataoka and discovers he's compassionate and, like, weirdly chivalrous. Like, when he finds out that Orajima was technically a virgin when they slept together, Orajima had done acts on other people, not received them himself. Kataoka admits that he's never slept with a virgin before, and then immediately decides that they need to get married, as a matter of honor.
結婚するぞ。責任は取らねえとな。男だからよ。
He says it in such a jokey way that Odojima clearly doesn't know how to react, but he also does actually mean it, which is both hilarious and endearing. I loved this show, and it's only 6 half-hour episodes, so you'll finish it in no time. That's actually one of the big advantages of watching a lot of these BLs, is that they're not long series. The K-dramas are extremely short, which is sad for me personally, and a lot of the Japanese dramas are really short. Like, the Thai dramas are probably the longest you're going to get, and they're only up to like 12, 45-minute episodes. And on the topic of shows that are far too short and that I desperately want more of, Semantic Error was my #1 Korean BL back in 2023 when I made my original video, and it's still very much up there, even with all the amazing new shows that have come out. A talented, free-spirited artist is stopped from graduating university by a student a year or two below him who doesn't credit him on a group project because he didn't participate, so fair enough. So he didn't get the credits to graduate. This obviously pisses him off, so he decides to annoy the guy into submission. The guy in question is not impressed, and yet, for some reason, he's drawn to him anyway.
오늘 대화 연습 시간이거든요. 이거 좀 치우지.
이렇게 페이퍼로 하면 될 것 같은데.
조선시대냐? 예고. 1분 뒤 키스할 거야. 도망갈 거면 지금 도망가.
It's just so good. Plus, in this house, we love openly bi representation, and this show gave us not 1, but 2 iconic bi characters who happen to be besties.
궁금하다. 이런 거잖아. 주영 언니, 세범이, 테리, 그리고 신입생 때 과 선배랑 과 CC 2달. 그리고 너무 내 스타일이었는데 내가 그때 여자친구가 있어서 못 고신? 명가 언니, 스튜어디스 언니. 내가 아는 건 이 정도?
As well as everybody's favorite angry, autistic, repressed gay.
이걸로 먹히겠냐? 이런 거 백날 읽으면 뭐해? 사람 마음 하나 못 움직이는데.
I loved this show so much, I wrote 2 fanfics about it, and they're 2 of my most popular fics, and they hold a very special place in my heart. They're the kinds of fics that I go back and reread for me. Like, even if I hadn't posted them, I still would have written them. And finally, and most obviously, if you know literally anything about me, Bad Buddy. Listen, this show fundamentally changed me as a person. Anybody who's friends with me knows exactly how much I could not shut up about this show. Hell, we had a fun PowerPoint night, and my PowerPoint was why this show is the greatest queer romance of all time. There have been others that have come out since that are sort of on the same level, but like, I stand by those statements. Pat and Pran have lived next door to each other their entire lives, but their parents hate each other, so they're forced into a rivalry. Academic, sporting, and personal. It's Romeo and Juliet meets Much Ado About Nothing, which again, if you know anything about me, is like crack to me. In high school, they became secret friends, and Pran's mother found out and was so furious she made him transfer schools and quit playing guitar. They haven't seen each other for 3 years when they realise they're at the same uni in rival faculties. Engineering, Pat, versus architecture, Pran. Their friends hate each other, their families hate each other, but they just can't help being drawn to each other despite it all. And maybe there are some other feelings bubbling under the surface, because as it turns out, Pran has been in love with Pat since high school. And he's still in love with him now, and suffering about it. Ooh, the way that Nanon portrays that suffering. At this point, Pat still thinks he has a thing for their friend Ink, bisexual king, and his sister gives him some signs to look for to see if Ink likes him. And then he sees Pran in the music shop, and...
ถ้าร่างกายสัมผัสกัน อีกฝ่ายจะมีอาการ เขาอาจจะอยากรู้ว่าเรามีแฟนหรือยัง
ลมณ์ดีนะมึง แฟน
เมื่อเขาอยู่ใกล้เรา เขาจะไม่ค่อยเป็นตัวของตัวเอง
สัตว์หลีกดิ
These motherfuckers dedicated an entire episode to Pat's italicized "oh" moment, and it was only episode 5 of 12. This is important because it led to the moment that broke the entire BL internet. In my BL video, I said this show changed the fabric of the industry and made it queerer, and I mean that shit. It's only gotten more queer since then, and while it's not because of Bad Buddy alone, it did play a significant factor. This show is not just good for good's sake, it's also good because it took every negative or trite BL stereotype that had become crutches for most shows, and it held a mirror up to them to point out not only how unrealistic they are, but how great shows can be when you let the characters feel like real people.
เราเหมือนกัน เราก็ชอบแบบไหนก็ได้หมดแหละ แ แต่มึงอะไม่ได้เพราะมึงหลงกูแล้วไง
หูนึกว่าเฮียจะแบบ ปกติผมก็ชอบผู้หญิงนะครับ แต่ว่าผมชอบผู้ชายแค่คนเดียว คุณปราณ
อุ้ยตอนเนี้ยก็ชอบให้คุณคนเดียวเหมือนกันครับ คุณปราณบอกกันตอนนี้เหรอ
พอเลยนี่สรุปใครหลงใครวะเนี่ย
มันมึงอะไรเดี๋ยวแม่บ้านกูเปลี่ยนใจโอเคแม่บ้านพ่องไปแต่งตัว
The 12-episode formula that was so predictable I could watch shows with my eyes closed was totally upended by episode 5, and the rest of the show just kept delivering. Anyway, these men are everything to me, and my brain chemistry is so altered by them that there were multiple whole enough scenes where my brain went pat-pran, like the dog from Up.
I fucking did it. And I still beat your ass. Barely.
ทำไมคนอย่างกูต้องแข่งกับมึงวะ เฮ้ย
And it felt like we were something.
We can't be something, Commander.
มึงกับกูไม่ได้เป็นไรกัน แค่เพื่อนยังเป็นกันไม่ได้เลย ใช่ดิ เพื่อนอะไรพ่อแม่เกลียดกันขนาดนี้วะ
Would you want to be? If we could?
We can't.
That's not what I asked.
ที่เราสองคนเป็นอยู่อะมันเรียกว่าอะไรวะ ถ้าเราสองคนไม่เป็นศัตรูกันอะเราจะเป็นเพื่อนกันได้ปะวะ
I don't think I can keep pretending I don't like you anymore.
You don't like me?
Yeah, I do. I think I like you maybe a little too much.
Don't.
ทำไมอะเนี่ยเพื่อนกูไม่
Their rivalry is the crux of the entire story and the reason they cannot be together, but it also forms the basis of their relationship. Is this sounding familiar? It also has well-written women, again drawing parallels, and a willow side couple that I am in love with.
จริงๆสูงกว่าพาโอเคหมดแหละ อยู่ด้วยแล้วสบายใจพาโอเค แล้วเนี่ยสบายใจปะสบายสิ
Milk Panzer, I am single and available to move to Thailand whenever you want. It's also very heated rivalry in that their antagonism doesn't stop after they get together, which is just my absolute favourite thing. Bickering as a love language is truly one of the best character dynamics.
กูไม่ได้ชอบมึง มึงอะชอบกู มึงต่างหากที่ชอบกู กูจะจีบมึงให้ดู จะให้มึงงงหัวไม่ขึ้นเลย จะทำให้มึงต้องคลานเข่าบอกชอบกูเลยคนอย่างมึงอะนะ จีบง่ายจะตาย ใครรู้สึกก่อนแพ้ เฮ้ย อะไร โอ๊ย
เป็นคนป่วยอย่าดื้อดิครับเพื่อนแล้วทำไมแล้วถ้าเพื่อนดื้ออะไรจะทำไม
และหัวใจนี่ของข้ามีแต่เองมีผู้เดียว เองขำอะไรอ่ะ ล้างจานเหรอ ตักผ้ามั้งเนี่ย ไก่จะมาช่วยกันหน่อยอ่ะช่วยดิ โอ้ยอะไรของมึงเนี่ยฮะ มึงช่วยหยุดทำตัวเป็นหมาขี้อ้อนสักวินาทีนึงได้ปะได้
10 out of 10 would recommend and have to anyone who will listen. Before we move on to the next category, I would also like to give a quick honorary shout out to Dare You to Death, a Thai drama currently airing on Netflix about two cops, one wildcard and one uptight stickler for the rules, who are forced to work together on a series of killings related to a truth or dare game. Their rivalry is existing in constant tandem with their immediate flirting.
นี่คุณใช้ปากสั่งคนอื่นเลยเหรอ
ทีมเวิร์กไงครับสารวัตรรู้จักบ้างไหมครับการแบ่งงานเนี่ยแล้วถ้าผมจะใช้ปากผมทำงานเนี่ยมันจะทำไมล่ะครับในเมื่อปากของผมเนี่ยมันดีขนาดนี้
Who does that remind me of? And if it was finished, it would probably be more than an honorary mention, but I can't in good conscience do that when only 3 episodes are out. I'm having an absolute whale of a time, though. It also features 2 of my all-time favourite men. And hey, now that I'm on the topic of Jungdunk...
Trust me, gay is in, gay is hot, I want some gay it's gonna be. Nandor?
This is my no category, but still weirdly fits the vibes of Heated Rivalry, even if there's less direct lines to draw between the shows. Section. And first up, let's talk about Sex, Baby. The Heart Killers is a modern retelling of The Taming of the Shrew, and even specifically of 10 Things I Hate About You. Except the siblings who are being seduced are brothers instead of sisters, and it's so queer, because JoJo made this show for me, specifically. Kant is essentially blackmailed by the police into getting close to a former one-night stand because the police suspect, correctly, that he's an assassin. Bison works with his older brother Fidel at a burger joint, which is their day job cover for their actual calling, which is murdering people. Kant attempts to seduce Bison in order to get closer to him, and it's starting to work.
เฮ้ยคุณไม่ต้องออมแรงตบมาเลยใครมันจะไปรู้อ่ะผมอาจจะชอบก็ได้นะเราอาจจะเป็นคู่ที่ลงตัวกันก็ได้คุณชอบทำ But he faces a roadblock in the form of his terrifying older brother, who refuses to let him date, largely because, again, they're assassins, so dating is very risky. So naturally, Kant bets his best friend Style, an extroverted, crop-top-wearing, hot-and-nosed mechanic, that if he can seduce Fidel, he'll give him his car. He does not, at any point, tell Style that this man is a killer. He just sets his infamously bonkers friend loose on a man who has been very clear about his disinterest in dating and knows more ways to kill a man than Jason Bourne. ใครส่งมึงมาไม่มีใครส่งมึงมาคิดว่ามึงเป็นใครซุปตาต้องมีคนมาตามมึงโกหกกูชอบมึงอ่ะคือชอบมึงตั้งแต่ชนท้ายรถมึงวันนั้นแหละ first sight ไงโรแมนติกโคตรละครชัดๆโคตรน้ำเน่าเลยกูไม่เชื่อมึง
And yet, Styles' incessant charisma and borderline stalkerish tendencies somehow work on Fidel, and his walls slowly start to come down. This might be my favourite show from 2024. It was basically the only thing getting me through the shitty time I was having in the December-January debacle of last year. Oh my god, was that only a year ago? Because everything was terrible, but every week I could look forward to a new episode of The Heart Killers and temporarily get lost in that world. Kant and Bison are so cute, and Fidel and Style are the loves of my life.
ลองคิดดูดีๆแล้วมึงกับสไตล์อ่ะกูไม่ได้รักมันกูแค่โอกาสมันพี่กูจะมีแฟนแล้วพี่กูจะมีแฟนไบซัน
You'll recognize Kant Bison as the guys from The Eclipse, and Fidel Style as the guys from Day to Death. Ilya would love Bison and Style, and he'd probably bond with Kant over familial obligations and pressure, and Shane would be besties with Fidel. In this essay, I will. Also, it's full of sex. Can't stress this enough. It's basically once an episode. I know I can't speak for him, but I truly believe, in my heart of hearts, that Shakespeare would be delighted with this adaptation of his works. My Magic Prophecy is about a doctor who doesn't believe in mysticism, and a tarot reader / psychic who sees visions of the future and foretells danger. The doctor doesn't believe him, but when he's repeatedly saved from danger by said psychic, he starts to take him seriously. They've got that Holinov antagonism going, especially for the first half of the show, but actually even after they get together, they still bicker a lot.
รบกวนคนไข้ไม่รู้ดีกว่าหมอนะครับรบกวนพี่หมอไม่ดื้อนะครับพี่หมอเพิ่งจะเริ่มจีบเองมันน่าแต่งเลยเหรอ
Fave. And there's still life or death stakes, as well as some genuinely emotional moments. C is so good at portraying emotional distress, it makes my chest hurt every time he cries. And he cries in a decent chunk of episodes, but somehow it never lessens the emotional impact. I'm very excited for their new show that's coming out this year, by the way. Oh, I can't wait to see C just be an absolute menace!
เหี้ยไม่ปงไม่เป็นแม่งแล้วพยุงพยานกูจะกลับบ้านมึงยังกลับไม่ได้จนกว่ากูจะเสร็จก่อนไม่คิดจะรอกูเลยมึงคิดว่าตลกมากเหรอมึงก็ยิ้มกับกูหน่อยสิครับคุณโพลิส
That one will be kind of similar rivalry vibes too, so keep your eye out for that one. See Your Love is a Taiwanese show about a deaf man and a chaebol who cross paths when the chaebol's life is threatened, and he ends up employing Xiaopeng as his caretaker so he can go into hiding. Xiaopeng, who has dealt with a number of obstacles to employment due to his inability to hear or talk, is delighted to be employed and then devastated when it turns out he's not being employed for the right reasons. The two of them grow closer, and Zhixiang takes it upon himself to learn sign language because he wants to understand Xiaopeng better, and despite their opposing personalities, their disparate circumstances and tax brackets, and their frustrations with each other, they begin to fall in love.
我从来没有想过你听得见， 会说话，听不见不是缺憾，是构成你江少鹏的一部分。我知道的，喜欢的，就是这样的你。
Disability representation and a beautiful queer story? I've watched this show 3 times since it came out in 2024. A Shoulder to Cry On is an adaptation of a Korean manhwa that I also adored about Lee Daeol, a quiet outsider who excels at archery and almost nothing else, who keeps to himself and prefers it that way, whose life is upturned when the popular but deeply manipulative and kind of nasty Cho Taeyeon falsely claims Daeol had tried to kiss him, which could get his scholarship revoked. Taeyeon quickly sets his sights on Daeol as the perfect victim, following him around just to bully him, and Daeol is infuriated by him, but a tiny part of him is drawn to him too, in the same way Taeyeon doesn't really have an explanation for why he's so obsessed with the quiet archery student. This is a bully romance, and I know some people don't like those, and honestly, I'm not always the biggest fan either, but I just really like the way this one is handled. Both characters feel neurodivergent in some way, and Taeyeon is clearly extremely traumatized on top of that, but refusing to acknowledge it, so it makes for some compelling, layered character dynamics.
놓쳤습니다. 비대면. 조태현! 무슨 일이야? 괜찮아?
너 왜 와? 너 나 걱정돼?
병원 가자.
너 병신이야?
It also feels very asexual to me, both in the manhwa and the show, although in the show it was probably because the two actors were K-pop idols from the same group and they didn't want the fans to be weird about it, so they kept it as sexless as possible, but it made it so much more engaging to me as an ace person, and like I said, the manhwa kind of had already given me those vibes, so I have a soft spot for it. I really do. Revenge Love is a Chinese BL that everybody and their mother became obsessed with last year, including me. Woo So-wei's girlfriend of many years dumps him really viciously because she has set her sights on Chi-chung, a rich chibble. Woo So-wei befriends a doctor who agrees to help him, and they come up with a cockamamie plan to get revenge on his ex-girlfriend by making Chi-chung fall in love with him instead. Something that only a straight person would do. Obviously. Chi-chung does in fact fall for his advances, and Woo So-wei then has to reckon with his own choices. Like, man, you did this. You did this. Oh, he wants to kiss you now? You told him you wanted that.
恋爱结婚的，和他一个男的搞在一起算什么？好吧，我承认，我对他是有感觉，但我不能和他在一起。为什么？我要是真的和他在一起了，我一定就是那个被上的人，我受不了。
In the background, Chi-chung's ex-best friend Gu Chong-yu is aggressively pursuing the doctor, Jiang Xiaoshui. I have talked extensively about my love for all 4 main characters of the show, both in my bromance video and on my Tumblr account, and I love how screwed up they all are, and also how much that ties them together and makes them into like a weird little foursome. It's not quite canon to the show, but these 4 men are in a polyamorous relationship to me. ABO Desire is the second live-action Omegaverse BL in history, and it is not only Chinese, unheard of, but it is also genuinely delightful, and I had a blast with it. Hwayoung is an enigma pretending to be an Omega to seduce an Alpha, and he's serving 15 different kinds of cunt while he's doing it.
他是我的 Alpha， 想要他的命，你们算什么东西？你要搞大名？
He is sweet and innocent and so very baby, but the moment Sheng Shuyu is out of sight, he flicks a switch and becomes the most dangerous person in the room. I love him so much, and the theme song of the show is in my most listened to songs of the year because it slaps. The second couple were good too, but a lot of people were disappointed by how abrupt their ending was, so keep that in mind while you watch it. It's not actually that similar to Heated Rivalry, vibe-wise. I'm recommending this mainly because Hudson is so desperate for horny Omegaverse references, and I think he'd like it. Once again, speaking directly to Hudson Williams. As if he's going to watch this. Burnout Syndrome is a currently airing show starring Gun and Off from Not Me as a broke artist and a soulless tech capitalist, respectively, where Gun's character is hired by Offs to pretend to be him in public, which makes him a target of harassment. Gun gets closer to Off's character and realizes that he actually might be a terrible person. I mean, he likes AI. And despite this, his interactions with Off spark his inspiration, and he is drawn to him like a muse, which makes him question himself and his commitment to his own deeply held ethics. Even though there is another, far more suitable man pursuing him, he can't seem to shake his obsession with this aggravating dick. Yes, that is a pun. You'll understand if you watch this show.
คุณเป็นคนแรกเลยนะที่ซื้องานผมอะคุณเห็นอะไรในนั้นนะแล้วคุณนะทำไมถึงอยากวาดผมอะ
It's not finished yet, so this isn't a full recommendation. I just really like it so far, and it's got a very anti-AI, fuck capitalism and soulless tech thing going on, which in 2026 is very important to me. And also, gun and off. Like, they've never missed. They've never once missed one time. Thundercloud Rainstorm and My Personal Weatherman. I'm grouping these two together because of the fucked up dom-sub dynamics present in both of them, for all of those people who were clocking the dom-sub stuff in Heated Rivalry. Thundercloud Rainstorm is about two cousins who start living together and then start having a sexual affair. I'm not kidding.
너랑 제대로 연애 한번 해보고 싶어. 야, 말이 되냐? 우리 사촌이잖아. 그게 중요했으면 너랑 나랑 지금까지 한 건?
In the show, they make it so that they're not actually blood related, but in the manhwa it's based on, that was, not the case. So, if you're not a fan of incest, don't worry, the show clears you of that ick by the end. If you are a fan of incest, go read the manhwa. Their dynamic is fascinating though, and the acting is phenomenal, and it's another one of those shows that I am hard-pressed to recommend to the people in my life, even though I love it. Oh, tell us, what are you watching at the moment? Not much, just a gay dom-sub incest romance starring one of the members of 101. How about you? And My Personal Weatherman is about Yor, an erotic manga artist who lives with a handsome, successful weather forecaster in an extremely strange capacity. He cooks and cleans and obeys Segasaki and then sleeps with him whenever he asks, basically in exchange for being able to live with him and having money for food and expenses while he writes. Yor tells himself that he resents Segasaki for his domineering behavior, while he actually resents him because he thinks Segasaki doesn't want to be in a real relationship, but just to keep him as a concubine. As it turns out, that's not quite true.
俺んとこに来い。で、その代わり、俺の言うこと全部聞け。
I love shows with unreliable narrators. Ooh, it's the best when that's utilized correctly. Petrichor is a Thai GL about a cop and a forensic doctor and their opposing approaches to cases, which initially causes some tension that eventually fades into a strong trust and respect for each other. Despite the corrupt system they're stuck working inside, they're both sticklers for justice and desperate to do the right thing on behalf of the victims who are so often shunted aside by society. It's got kind of a rivalry antagonism thing going on, and it's also just really fucking good.
คุณเนี่ยนะลาออกอ่ะใช่ดีเทลเมื่อกี้นี่ถือซะว่าเป็นงานสุดท้ายที่ต้องทำด้วยกันแล้วกันนะเฮ้ยคุณทำบ้าอะไรเนี่ยลาออกอะไรกันคุณเลอะเทอะงานคุณยังไม่เสร็จเลยยังไงคุณก็ต้องอยู่หาความจริงกับฉันก่อนไปสิคุณ
We don't need to talk about how many of the shows I've recommended in this video are about speaking truth to power or overthrowing the system. It's fine. I'm totally fine. It's fine. Friendly Rivalry, yes, I am serious, is a K-drama that's kind of about queer women. Very bromance-coded, very psychosexual codependent female friendship-coded, very rivals-coded, obviously. A shy, small-town orphan moves to Seoul to attend a high school for high-achieving students and struggles to fit in with the mostly affluent student body there. She meets the top student, who is wealthy and arrogant to top it all off, and the two of them strike up a strange kind of connection, despite their contrasting upbringings and personalities. They're both desperate to overachieve, as well as fit in, and despite their growing connection to each other, those desires cannot be tamped down, and it causes a lot of conflict. This show starts off so cute, and it gets fucked. Also, I got to watch Shiori kiss a woman in this show, and I was extremely normal about it. I didn't flail about like a freak and reblog every single version of their scene on Tumblr at all. I'm lying. I did a lot. The Eighth Sense is probably my favourite Korean BL, or at least three-way tied for first with Semantic Error and Love for Love's Sake, and it is both a sports-based one, surfing, as well as involving the two boys hiding their burgeoning relationship. It's extremely queer, which I talked about extensively on Tumblr while it was airing, and it's one of the most beautiful shows I've ever watched. It is on the list of things that fundamentally changed my brain chemistry. Jiyeon is an art student who is a bit of a country bumpkin. He's not really, but they treat him like he's one.
너는 상경한 지 얼마 안 된 쫄아있는 시골쥐? 아, 형은 첫인상으로 사람 판단 안 한다고 했잖아.
Who meets So Jaewon while at work and realizes they're attending the same university. He finds out Jaewon is in the surfing club and signs up, basically just to have an excuse to be near him. The things we do for first gay love, I swear. They're clearly into each other, but Jaewon keeps pretending nothing is happening between them, which makes sense when you get a window into his home life. Ooh, the things that Jaewon and Ilya could talk to each other about, could pay therapist bills for years. When he finally gets over his fears and takes the plunge to admit his feelings for Jiyeon, tragedy strikes, and it takes a long time for them to get back to each other.
왜 뽀뽀했어요? 너 트라우마 없애주려고.
넌 왜 뽀뽀했어?
형도 트라우마 생기게 해주려고요.
제 이기심에 더 깊은 관계로 만들어버렸고 걱정했던 그대로 그 친구를 힘들게 했어요.
Also, it has a needle drop that sent me to my knees, so look forward to that.
이 모두 행복한 결말을 맺길 바라며 다음 신청곡 들으시죠?
Finally, to close us out, We Are the Series is a show about 4 separate couples who all fall in love over the course of the season, which I'm putting here because it feels spiritually very similar to the crossover nature of Rachel Reed's books, and hopefully the continuing trend in future seasons of adapting more books and pairings into Heated Rivalry. Foom and Peem initially hate each other, and with Foom holding an injury he sustained because of Peem over him and forcing him into a servant contract to pay off the medical bill, which builds resentment in Peem for obvious and understandable reasons, they're not off to a great start. Despite this, the two of them develop feelings for one another and end up somehow having an extremely healthy and balanced relationship.
เฮ้ยมึงเป็นไรวะเนี่ยไหนมาดูซิไม่เป็นไรหรอกแค่นี้เองมานี่เลยมาอุ้ยที่รักเขาโดนหนังสือบาดอ่ะเอ้า
Wow, we love healthy communication in this house. Q and Toy are slowly falling in love while Toy keeps a secret from Q.
ไอ้เต้ยมึงชอบพี่คิวไงมีอะไรกินบ้างวะ
Pun and Chain are oblivious besties who are in love but don't seem to realize their feelings are reciprocated.
ถ้าวันหลังกลับไม่ไหวอ่ะโทรมานะโทรทำไมอ่ะบอกให้โทรก็โทรเข้าใจไหม
And Tan and Fang are former rivals turned embarrassingly down bad boyfriends.
มึงนี่ก็ลายเหมือนกันนะเว้ยต้มเพื่อนกูจะเปื่อยเลยเป็นหมูตุ๋นเลยเพราะกูรู้อยู่แล้วไงว่ายังไงมึงก็ชอบกู
If you want a getaway from the harsh world we live in, or the post-heated rivalry hangover that feels like a warm hug, We Are is the show for you.
Bella, where the hell have you been, Luca?
I literally never want to hear you people complain that we don't have enough variety in queer shows again. I mean, by my own calculations, there are at least 524 individual shows. You can't find something you like in there and I'll eat my hat. Those people who are like, Heated Rivalry is good, but why won't you show up for Fellow Travelers? First of all, people did show up for Fellow Travelers. It was critically lauded and very popular, but they're different shows. And it frustrates me when people compare them just because they're both queer. Same with people annoyed that Heated Rivalry has bagged the Fujos, but those same Fujos aren't watching Pluribus. Couldn't be me, I have 2 hands. But like, those are extremely different genres of show. If you're actually up in arms about people not watching enough diverse media, why don't you ever bring up the Asian media? Is it the racism? I think it's probably the racism. Also, why are we pitting 2 bad bitches against each other? I understand that complaint when it comes to mainstream Western media, and I too would like more gay stuff coming out of America and the UK. My utmost respect to the Canadian tax dollars that went towards Heated Rivalry. But there is so much gay shit out there, you just need to go find it. Half of these Thai shows are on YouTube, for free. The ones that aren't are on iQIYI or Viki, and you can sign up for a month, watch them, and then cancel your subscription. Pretty much everything else is on Gaga Ulala, which is an exclusively queer streaming service. I talk about them a lot, so if Gaga would like to sponsor this channel... I'm kidding. Or am I? Anyway, the point is, there is amazing, diverse, cool, interesting queer shows out there, as long as you're willing to step over that 1-inch barrier that is subtitles. And if you can't afford a streaming service, there are definitely super legal, definitely legal, other methods to watch them too. But again, I cannot stress enough that so many of the Thai dramas I mentioned are literally uploaded to YouTube by the company that makes them. Like, GMMTV do have their problems sometimes, but like, come on. If you can think of shows I missed, please feel free to post them in the comments, or if you disagree with some of my picks, please let me know. However, if I see any bad buddy slander, just know that it will make me cry, and I will have psychic beef with you for life. If you want me to update my BL rankings, sound off in the comments too, and feel free to hype this video if that's an option, as well as like it. Not only has YouTube been nerfing my channel in general lately, but queer videos, and especially queer and blatantly sexual videos, are even less likely to get spread. So share this with your friends, even send it to your own email if you like, because apparently that still counts as sharing to the algorithm. Just, you know, I hate asking for people to do stuff like that. I always feel really icky about it, being like, oh, please like my stuff, comment on my stuff. But like, I cannot express enough how much YouTube has just absolutely nerfed my channel this year. And go forth and watch more queer shows. Partake in queer joy. Bask in romance that's queer but not depressing, and yet still realistic, because that does exist and it does happen in real life. Even despite all the challenges we face as a community, people are still falling in love and finding community with each other, building families with each other. And I like to think I'm building one right here too. Stay gay and horny, folks. As a form of rebellion, if nothing else. Annyeong!
close, you see